matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
I do.
Go ahead and have a seat. State your name for the record, if you would, please.
Christopher Shaw.
Where do you work?
I currently work for the Cherokee County School District Police Department.
What do you do there?
I'm the SRO assigned to Cherokee High School.
What is SRO?
I'm the school resource officer.
Do you enjoy that?
I do.
What all schools do you work at?
Just Cherokee High School.
About how many students are there now?
Last check was 2,800.
Now, how long have you been doing that?
I'm in my third school year.
Before you did that, did you work anywhere else?
I did. I worked for the Cherokee Sheriff's Office.
What year, are you a post-certified peace officer in the state of Georgia?
I am.
And what year did you go to the academy?
2003.
Where'd you go?
North Central Law Enforcement Academy.
How long was that?
411 hours.
What I'd like to do is just very quickly kind of your resume. Where did you start? What did you do? And when did you end up moving before you left the sheriff's office?
In 2003, I was a police officer with the City of Holly Springs. I was there for just shy of a year when I went to the Woodstock Police Department. There I was assigned to uniform patrol and then eventually became a canine officer with them. In 2007, an opportunity arose for me to go to the Cherokee Sheriff's Office, where I spent a short time in uniform patrol of the Waleska Precinct and the Bridge Mill 6's precinct before being assigned to the Violent Crimes Unit in 2008. In 2009, that unit was dissolved and merged with CID, and so in 2009, I became part of the Criminal Investigations Division, assigned to Evening Watch in the DV unit, and from there, continued my journey where I was assigned to crimes against children, and then back to major cases for a little bit before eventually winding up in the Intel unit, where I oversaw the formation and running of the crime scene unit, and then eventually rolled into managing our digital forensics unit, our whole forensics unit as a whole for the Cherokee Sheriff's Office. I left there in 2022 as a sergeant.
I want to turn your attention to Tuesday, December 8th of 2020. Obviously, you know why you're here today to talk about that day.
Yes, sir.
If I can just kind of pinpoint that date, at that time in history, what was the sheriff's office like when it came to crime scene unit, crime scene technicians? How many we have? What kind of people were in that?
We had 2 full-time, myself and my lieutenant, and then we had several part-time officers and civilian crime scene investigators who all took on-call rotations, but it was primarily my sole job.
In 2020, how much bigger was the sheriff's office compared to the Canton Police Department when it came to just human resources?
We were significantly larger. Just our criminal investigation division was 3/4 of their whole department at the time, so we could bring to bear a lot of resources.
And is the sheriff's office at that time a professional organization?
Yes, we were both state and national certified.
In bigger agencies like the sheriff's office in Cherokee County in 2020, at that time, was there specialization for certain skills and talents that officers, investigators, and detectives had?
At that time, for us, we could specialize. So in 2010, I began my crime scene journey at the state level in getting my state certification. In 2015, I was afforded the opportunity to attend the National Forensics Academy, where I graduated with session 39 from the National Forensics Academy. So that's our ultimate goal in crime scene. We get to train with other crime scene investigators from all over the country, and sometimes we get to train with them from all over the world. And so in 2015, after my graduation from there, we continued our training and bringing that large network of resources that we have to bear in our small little pond of Cherokee County.
Now, I know we're retrospect, looking backwards 4 years later after the crime occurred, but in the beginning when you go to a crime scene and you're called in, do you know what all tools and things you have to use to process a scene?
No, I usually figure that out once I get there.
And can a scene be a simple scene where it doesn't take much, you can just take photographs, to a very complex scene where you're looking for DNA and other evidence?
Absolutely.
Have you worked all different types of scenes?
I have.
And when you went to this scene, were you asked to help out the police department at the scene?
I was.
And what did you do here in this scene specifically?
So the initial call was to respond to the address there at Mountain Vista Boulevard. However, I was deviated to the hospital first, where I was asked to photograph and document the injuries on the victim child, and then from there respond back to the scene to assist the Canton Police Department and their Detectives Bureau with processing the scene inside this single-family residence.
So the first place you went to, heading to the actual crime scene, but then you actually ended up going to the hospital.
Yes, sir.
Did you go north side?
I did.
And was that because you had to go there and process the crime scene of the child herself?
Yes.
And that's Hannah Nicole.
Yes.
When you got to the hospital, just tell the jury what you saw.
So when I arrived in the emergency department, I was met with Sergeant Cromer, who was the Canton police officer there, and with the Deputy Coroner Sally Sims. I was brought into the trauma room where I was presented with a 13-month-old white female covered with emergency room style blankets. Obviously, lots of evidence of medical intervention was present on the victim child. Got a very brief overview of presentment at the hospital, and then began documenting the decedent's condition as it was when I arrived in the emergency room. We do that through photography. In this case, we use digital imaging, digital photography. So I began just taking overall photographs of the victim child. From there, we start to remove layers, i.e. we take the blankets back, more pictures, continue to document all angles of the victim. From there, we go into close-up photography of any injuries or defects present on the decedent. In this case, there were several present in the neck area of the victim child. Once all that photography was done, knowing that the decedent is going to go to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, to the crime lab for autopsy, that concludes my interaction with the decedent, so as not to disturb anything that the crime lab's going to do in their formal setting through autopsy. And so from there, I was released from the hospital to go back to the scene to start that part of our crime scene processing.
When you went to the hospital and little Hannah was there, were there many people around her, or was she by herself?
She was by herself. Well, excuse me. Deputy Coroner Sally Sims was present, myself, and little Hannah.
Did you arrive after all the life-saving attempts had been done?
I did.
Judge, this time, man, first witness.
Yes.
This states exhibits 29 through 35. See if those are fair and accurate photographs of Hannah as she was at the hospital. Yes.
They are.
Here, may I approach again?
Yes.
Judge, I enter to evidence now states exhibits 29 through 35.
Thank you, sir. No objection? All right, they're admitted.
May I publish them, Your Honor?
Yes.
Shaw, what do we have here in states exhibit 29?
So this is just an overall top-down of the victim child as she was when I arrived at Northside Cherokee Hospital.
And where is this room in the emergency room?
I believe their trauma room in the emergency department is right off the ambulance entrance. I don't remember if I was the first or second room, but it's right there off the emergency, where the ambulances pull up.
When you first walked in, was anybody with her?
Just the deputy coroner.
States 30, what do we have?
So after initial photographs, I removed the hospital and ambulance blankets to reflect the presentment of the decedent in the hospital, and so that's what we have here, documenting all of the medical intervention, but also documenting the significant volume of blood.
If you could for us in this photograph, Stacy's Exhibit 30, is this the condition that you found, Hannah?
This was when I arrived
When
at
you
the
arrived
hospital.
at the hospital, right?
Yes, sir.
Can you, for the record, describe what her is on her left foot?
On the left foot is the sock.
States 31.
We do document from the head down, full documentation with pictures. So I asked the deputy coroner to position, and what I'm looking for is not only evidence on the top, but any evidence of any injury or anything that may have been missed at the scene. And so I want to make sure I get a full documentation of the decedent's face.
States 32. Which hand are we looking at here?
This is going to be the left hand.
I'm going to zoom in. And what do we notice in this photograph?
And so my documentation of the whole was the arm, but that is a significant pooling and clotting artifact of blood. Also, the amount of saturation and layering in the clothing item that was removed.
States 33. Is this the right hand here?
This is going to be the right hand, and again, we're just documenting the volume of blood and then the transfer throughout the body, different areas where blood was deposited on the baby skin.
States 34.
These are the injuries that I noted on the child's neck, the two linear puncture wounds going down, and then the linear laceration below those two puncture wounds on the neck. And I've asked the deputy coroner to reflect the neck back to show them in a natural state. They're not stretched, but as the head would lie with hand, so as to document those injuries.
In States 35, what did you do here?
I needed to give scale, to give size and angle, if you will, of that large injury present on the child's neck.
How long were you at the hospital with Hannah?
I think an hour and a half to do everything, plus to consult with the deputy coroner and make sure that I had done a thorough documentation of the child's injuries.
Your man approach.
Yes.
Maybe States Exhibits 36 through 43, another set. See if those are fair and accurate photographs of the residents in this case.
Yes, sir.
Are those fair and accurate photographs of the location in this case at 215 Mountain Vista?
Yes, sir.
Judge, at this time I turn to evidence State's Exhibit 36 through 43.
Any objection? All right. 36 through, I'm sorry,
43, Your Honor.
43 are admitted.
Now published, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Charlotte, let's look at this. So about, I guess you got there, it's dark, it's later.
By the time the search warrant got there, we were able to read it. Yes, it had turned dark.
Now, a search warrant is a legal authority gives you to go in and search a place, is that right?
Yes, sir.
I mean, nobody was giving you a problem not to search the house, though, is that correct?
Correct.
And why do y'all normally just go ahead and get a search warrant? Is it just something you routinely do to?
We do it in case we need to perform functions that may potentially damage a residence. If I have to remove items from a residence, if I have to start cutting into walls, remove carpet, remove large items from a residence, I want to make sure that I have a legal document. I also want to make sure that I'm staying within the scope of my legal document as a crime scene investigator. So we do it as a matter of work to ensure that we're doing the right thing for that specific scene and we're in our correct zone.
About how long did it take you to process the scene here? Do you remember?
I know we were there for several hours.
Would you consider this, and I'm not taking anything away from the case in any means, but when it comes to the complication of the tools and things that you had to use in this case, did you have to do anything, any specialization like remove carpeting or take DNA or do any type of laser work or anything like that in this case? Or was this more of a, it is what it is when you walk in the room, you see it?
With this particular scene, once we got to where the incident occurred, it was a pretty clear-cut scene. It was very contained to a single room. It was photographs, measurements, documentation.
This is States 36. What are we looking at here?
This is the exterior front of the residence. We're just giving ourselves location, walking you, ladies and gentlemen, into the residence.
States 37, what is this a photograph of?
Again, this is just another angle of the residence showing the driveway and where it leads to in this particular house. So it's a side entrance, drive under garage.
The jury has seen body-worn camera video and they've seen the entry, but if you go into this garage and you're looking here at Stage 38, this door, tell us about this door. Where does that lead to?
So this door leads into the, it was a kitchen, foyer. It's a
Go to
very
the next
strange
photograph.
layout. It's a narrow hall. There's lots of stuff.
How's it,
stacked
Stage
up.
40? Is that a picture when you come in that door, you're looking down the hallway?
Yes.
And am I correct that if you walk straight and kind of go left, it's going to go towards the stairs? Is that right?
I believe so.
So that's Stage 40. Stage 41, if you walked into this room and if you kind of orientate yourself by this door, the fireplace, and this drape or curtain thing here. Now I'm going to Stage 42. You see linking them up here. So you come in that door, walk straight ahead, turn left, and I think you end up here. Is that right?
Correct. And then that will take you upstairs.
Is upstairs where the stabbing occurred?
Upstairs is where the incident occurred, yes, sir.
What do we have here in Stage 43?
We're just showing pathway upstairs, walking whoever into the house up the stairs.
Your man approach. Mandy States exhibits 44 through 82. Look at those and make sure they're fair and accurate photographs that you took in this case. 44 through 82.
They are, sir.
Judge, at this time, I intended that evidence takes exhibit 44 through 82.
States 44 through 82 are admitted.
And may I post those, Your Honor?
Yes.
States 44, what are we looking at here?
We're looking at the entryway into the bedroom, but more importantly, I was documenting the forced entry into the bedroom.
And how do you know that's forced?
The frame has been split down the middle where the latch would go, and it's pushed in.
Did you have any knowledge of who forced the door?
I don't.
You were just processing the scene?
Correct.
You don't normally interview witnesses or anything like that. You're just dealing with the loci or the actual location.
Yes, when we're asked to assist an agency in process, the detective in charge of the investigation, I just document what is there, what is not there for those detectives.
Sean, do you remember how much furniture or things like that were in the room?
In that particular room,
Yeah.
it's just a mattress
Were
and
there some other items that you noted?
a couple small items.
Next picture, stage 45. This is just a picture of the busted door frame.
So what I've done is I've gone closer in, so I'm going to go from bottom up, just documenting the forced entry.
46, same thing, just going up in the middle of the door frame.
The middle of the door frame, but that is where the catch would be,
47,
top of the door frame.
48, what do we have here?
And so now I'm walking into the scene, and so I want to look down. So we think about a camera sees like our eyes do, but it doesn't move. It doesn't have peripheral per se. So it's my job to make sure that I show you everything, so that I move from bottom to top and keep it center. So that's all I'm doing, is documenting that there's nothing right there at that door jam.
When you're processing a scene initially, do you know what evidence or items and articles or things like that are significant or relevant, or you just make sure you document the entire scene?
We do two ways. When we're assisting an agency, I stay within the scope of the search warrant that is given to me. In this particular case, it was read before I went in. I knew the parameters of the search warrant, and so I stayed within those scopes. But as far as knowing what's relevant and not, I would generally get that through my walkthrough, confer with the detective and go, hey, you need to maybe think about X, Y, and Z. But at the end of the day, whatever's in that search warrant, whatever the detective is asking us to collect, process, document, is what we're going to do. But in the documentation, when I want to make sure that I get all of the scene, I may take some liberties in that. I'm going to take more pictures, try to get as much as I can while staying within the parameters and scope of the search warrant.
Could you explain to the jury how oftentimes we just talk about a crime scene, but a crime scene could be a scene as in a place, but it could also be people involved, whether it's the suspect or the victim, or could there be multiple crime scenes?
In this case, there were two crime scenes. So the victim child was the first scene, because that decedent has evidence on it, around it, near it, or sometimes in them, depending on the mechanism used. And then there's a physical location where the crime may have occurred. So in this instance, we have the residence, but then we go upstairs to this particular bedroom and we find our scene. This is where we believe, based on the evidence and the presentment of that room, where this crime occurred. And so we have those two scenes.
Have you ever worked a knifing or a stabbing case where two people are involved and you're trying to figure out who's the primary aggressor?
Yes, we actually did one several years ago where we reconstructed it and ended up reversing, and it was determined to be an act of self-defense. Responded, and it was a stabbing. Lots of blood, documentation. There were actually 3 scenes involved in that one. The residence in 2 areas of the street where the fight continued. And so
do you look for evidence of blood being spilled and where it's spilled, is that significant?
It can be, it's gonna show me movement. Movement, and depending on where it falls and the type of blood that it is, can give me more clues.
Do you look for injuries on the people involved?
Yes.
Do you have to also know like who's involved in the relationship and the size and things like that?
Not necessarily when I'm doing my initial investigation, because I want to know what the scene is telling me, in that if I have blood, and I do this because I was a detective for so long, I don't want to engage my detective brain to force me to a conclusion. I want to stay impartial and let that scene talk to me. So when I see large volumes of blood, I'm going to note them, and then from there, once I've had an opportunity to take in that scene, then I can start looking at individual patterns and stains to make a determination of what kind of pattern or stain they are, and then from there decide if they're going to give me information.
States 49, as we walk into the room a little bit more, what do we see here?
This was our first presentment. We noted a small knife just lying in the floor, and so we took note of that.
States 50, what do we have here?
And so all I've done is turn my body with my camera to capture more of the room. So now we're seeing an overall of the room, but now we have relation of the knife. I start to see our presentment of, there's a volume of blood on the floor. We see evidence of medical intervention, and we start to kind of get our boundaries for this particular bedroom.
51, just still going to the right, is that correct?
Yes.
52, what do we have here?
So here I am inside the corner now, and I am along the right wall. So we have a mattress on the floor covered in a sheet, a large volume of blood with some transfers that would show movement on that sheet in this bedroom.
States 53, what do we have here?
And so now from my position in the room, I'm coming back to our left as I stand in the bedroom.
As you look at these walls, States 53, so I'm looking in this photograph, there's straight ahead, there's two windows, is that right?
Yes, sir.
To the right, so the mattress, is that correct?
Yes.
And then to the left is a dresser, I guess you would call that, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Do you notice the walls in this? Did you find puncture wounds or holes or anything in the walls like that?
I did not.
How about those windows? Are they busted out or broken or anything like that?
No, sir.
Any disheveled, broken furniture or anything along those lines?
Not in this bedroom.
Just that bed is in the shape it's in, is that right?
Correct.
Now are we moving back to the left? Is that your procedure? It stays 54 here.
I'm still moving towards the left.
Stays 55. Still going left.
Yes.
Stays 56. What do we have here?
And so I've moved into the center, and now I'm showing the floor in the middle of the bedroom.
57 shot. What do we have?
I've stepped to the left, still angle my camera down towards the floor, looking back towards the mattress. Again, documenting medical intervention, but also showing relation of the blood stains, the volumes of blood to the mattress.
Stays 58.
Again, just another shot where I'm trying to encompass more of the room in relation to everything on the floor.
59. What is this?
And so 59, I've moved 90 degrees to the mattress. So I am perpendicular to the mattress, and I'm doing my best to get a top-down overall shot of this mattress.
Is it accurate that when you arrived, there was no persons involved in this still on scene?
There was no one in this area when I arrived.
When you see this processing the scene, what does this tell you based on your training experience? When it comes to where the location of the blood or the amount of blood?
Just that there was a significant bloodletting event right here. This very dark blood and just the volume. Plus you can see some clotting artifacts in that indicate that there was a significant bloodletting event right there, but that there was also movement within and on top of this mattress, as evident by the handprints.
Next will state 60. What do we have in this, and what is this item that's at the kind of the foot of the mattress here?
I believe those were baby wipes, and I've just moved down to the end of the mattress, and so now I'm working my way back up.
We're talking about these here. Is that what we're looking at?
Yes, sir.
61, just kind of stepping back. Is that what you're doing? 62.
And so in 62, all I've done is I want to show relation to the volume, the stain here on the carpet as it relates to the mattress.
If I can go back to 61, do you see in State's Exhibit 61, are there two pooling areas of blood, one on the bed and then one on the floor by the baby wipes?
There are two separate patterns, yes.
Okay, so what I'm talking about is this one here on the floor in front of the baby wipes, is that right?
Yes, that's one area.
And for the record, which is the predominant or has more blood, the one on the mattress or the one on the floor?
That is
Which stain is bigger?
because it's absorbed. The one on the mattress is bigger than the one on the floor.
Say 63, what do we have here?
That was a diaper bag that was sitting at the foot of that mattress.
And just to be clear, all the evidence you collect in this, the bag, the other things we were talking about, the knife, all that, you turn that over to Canton Police Department, is that right?
Yes.
Say 64, what do we have here?
Just what we call a medium range shot. So I'm showing the relationship of the mattress to the diaper bag and the sippy cup, just kind of cleaning that up.
State 65.
We're top down over that diaper bag.
When it comes to collecting evidence, like a bag and the contents in the bag, is there a time where that will be processed and things will be taken out and accounted for, usually?
Yes, and not at a scene.
So that's later on, someone else will do that, a lead detective or somebody like that?
Yes.
Did you just take everything as it is, not unpack it, and just turn it over to the Canton Police Department, the detectives there?
Yes.
State 66.
Just documenting the exposed side. So this is a side facing out towards the bedroom, not closest to the wall.
And 66, what are the items that we see in this photograph?
Well, I knew the burnt blanket, and then I don't really recall what the pink thing was. I'm sure it was an item of clothing, baby clothing.
67.
Again, just another angle of the diaper bag, but noting the towel and then what was on the other side. And this is all done before we move a single item within that room.
68, just looking at the foot of the bed.
So we're from the foot at what we call normal vision. So I just have my camera up this way and I'm shooting back towards that wall.
69, this towel on the bed.
Just turn the zoom in to note the towel.
70, what do we have here in this photograph?
This palm swipe was very intriguing to me as a crime scene investigator, and I wanted to try and document that. Just one, noting the size of that. I know that is an adult hand, especially since I had already been to the hospital and seen the victim child, so I knew that to be an adult hand.
71, just a closer view.
Yes,
And
trying to get over it and focus. And I'm trying to do this all while holding a camera.
And then in 71, you see the blood has different formations or shapes on the type of stains that are left.
Yes, it's absorbing into the sheet at this point.
State 72, what is this and why did you take a picture of this?
So anytime we introduce something into a crime scene, we have to document. We document it through our notes and through photography. Obviously, yellow tint evidence markers are not naturally occurring things in people's homes. So we start to document, and I just figure out what I want to call one, and I go from there in a logical progression through my evidence. So we start with evidence marker 1. I decided that was going to be the knife. And so we have them with scale, and this gives us a relationship in size.
I'm gonna zoom in on state 72.
I did a good job.
Sometimes this is evidence marker 1 or EM for evidence marker 1, is that right?
That is right.
And what type of knife is this? Can you tell just by the logo on the blade itself?
That was a Cuisinart paring knife.
And did you go in the house and look to see where this was taken from?
At the end, we checked the blocks, and I found a block downstairs, a knife block. It had 2 missing knives, so we just documented that there were 2 knives missing from this particular block.
73, what do we have here?
So I used evidence marker 2 to denote this volume of blood on the carpet near the mattress.
74?
74 was the palm print. We would normally rotate it, but so 3 at the top, just noting the size with our scale.
75?
75, I just had to say all of this on this mattress here, this sheet is all number 4. So I said the top of the towel, as best I could, was the starting point. I laid a scale to show length and size and just called this 4.
$76.
Is the diaper bag.
And then or do you remember blood patterns or blood spray and how blood can come out differently? Does it make different depending on how it comes out of the body? Whether it's a slow coming out, or if there's force behind it and it's being pushed out even further?
The difference between arterial and venous
And
blood,
when you look at
yes.
the mattress here, could that explain sometimes why there's different type of patterns on the mattress?
We wouldn't normally identify patterns on absorbent surfaces because I don't know how much time elapsed between the bloodletting event and the time I got there. So the blood absorbing into the material is going to elongate any stains or patterns I get. And so in our blood stain pattern training, we're taught we do this on hard, non-porous surfaces in order to get accurate measurements, to get angles of impact. I would just call that a volume. That's just a transfer of blood. I don't know how it came, because as it absorbs, it could go lengthwise, it could go widthwise. So I'm just careful to document and say this is a large volume of blood here.
And then 76, we're looking at the bag, evidence marker 5. 77 is just where certain markers are in the room, is that right?
Yes, I'm trying to capture the overall of all of the evidence markers with their relationship in this bedroom.
And evidence marker 1 for the knife in relation to evidence marker 2, you don't have any knowledge whether or not that was moved by EMS or pushed over there or anything like that, do you? Or do you know?
I don't recall that I was told that anything was moved upon EMS's arrival.
That's how you found the knife in that place?
That is how I found the scene when I got into it.
78, just going back through. Now 79, what do we have here?
We removed the sheet, and I wanted to document just the saturation to go along with that large volume. And so I had several pictures of just the saturation of the blood into the mattress itself.
Another photograph of that. And then 81 and 82, did you visually go downstairs to the kitchen and look for where this Cuisinart knife could have come from?
It was the only block in the house, and it was missing 2 knives out of the block.
Do you have gloves with you today?
I do.
Take your time. These things are tough to get on sometimes. You may approach the witness. Did you collect the knife in this case?
I did.
Did you have an opportunity before you testified today to look at this box and verify that this is the knife that you collected from the scene?
I did.
Go ahead and double check, make sure State's Exhibit 83 is the knife collected in this scene.
It is.
This time I intend to have a State's Exhibit 83. Is it in the same or substantial similar conditions when you collect it, except for the protection and everything else in the box that marks the collecting of it?
Yes.
Judge, I tender to have a State's 83.
State's 83 is admitted.
Judge, may we publish that in a traditional manner? I don't want to take it out of the box, if that's all right. If you could just stand and just display it before the jury.
Yes, you can step down.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Your Honor. All right, sir, if you would just get in front of the jury, don't say anything to them, but just hold it up so they can see it, then I'm going to ask you some questions about it. If you just walk down the line, if you would. All right, thank you. If you just take it up there with you, I'm going to ask you some questions. When you collect a knife like this, is it, obviously it was bloody, had stains on it, is that right?
Yes.
And then once you collect it, can it be processed or sent to the GBI lab sometimes to see if there's any fingerprints or other evidence in that?
That is correct.
And oftentimes fingerprints and things like that is to determine who held it or who used it, is that right?
Yes.
And is it in the shape that's in the box? Is that y'all don't try to clean it, change it, do anything with it? It's just it is in the shape that was found from the scene. Is that right?
Yes.
And then do you secure it?
I'm sorry?
Do y'all secure it and make sure it's properly packaged?
Yes.
And do you know about how long the blade is, or do you have an estimation about how long the blade is?
I believe it was less than, right at 3 inches. It wasn't very big.
Okay. And it was a knife with a set, is that right?
As best as we could tell, looking at that particular block, I believed it to have come from that block downstairs.
As you look at the knife today, is the blade open? It's not covered with anything?
Correct. The blade is
It's
open.
a serrated blade with a sharp blade on it, or appears to be.
It's non-serrated.
Non-serrated, but I guess a fine blade, if you would.
Yes.
If you go ahead and just package that back and close it for us, please. If you do me a favor, just take your time, and if you can just, the photographs I've given you, if you could just put those in order for me.
They are.
Okay. Judge Malfroach.
Yes.
Matt, one moment, Your Honor. Further questions this time, Judge?
We're going to take a short recess. Stay upstairs, don't go downstairs. But we'll take a 10-minute bathroom break, and we will resume back at, well, it'll be a little more than 10 minutes. It'll be 4:15. We will go till somewhere between 5:30 and 6 this evening, just so you'll be aware of that. But we'll let you be in recess for 15 minutes. Thank you. Mr. Kessler?
Officer Shaw, good afternoon. Just have a few questions for you.
Yes, sir.
Your job now, you've held different jobs throughout your career, as you testified to earlier, correct?
Yes, sir.
Detective at one point investigating cases such as this
Yes, sir.
many years ago, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Your job now, however, is to basically to document a scene as you find it and to set the evidence as you see it for purposes of a criminal case, courtroom.
In this particular case, yes, sir.
Yeah. And primarily what you did in this case was photographs of the injuries that you saw with Hannah at the hospital and photographs at the crime scene at the house. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you did collect some pieces of evidence pursuant to the search warrant as well that you turned over that were sent off to the crime lab to be examined by GBI crime lab.
I turned him over to Canton PD. What happened to him after that, I was not made aware of.
But you collected them.
Yes, sir, I did do the initial collection.
You collected the knife that you have testified to as Exhibit 83, right?
Yes, sir.
You collected the sheet that was on the mattress in the room, right?
Yes, sir.
And you also collected some swabs of blood from the blood stain in the carpet.
I would have to look at my Evan control record, but if it's listed in there, then I collected them.
Okay. Let me, may I approach, Judge?
Yes.
Officer Shaw, I'm going to approach with a document that I was provided in this case. Can you look at that and identify what that is?
Yes, this is the inventory that we left with the search warrant.
Okay. And it does list on that document you and Lieutenant Ballard. Is that fair?
Yes, sir.
Is it possible that Lieutenant Ballard took the swabs of the carpet, blood stain on the carpet?
No, one of us collected them.
Okay. But do you recall doing that yourself?
I don't at this point, no, sir.
Okay. But it's fair to say that those are the three items that, pursuant to the search warrant that you took, you, and I don't mean you individually, but you and law enforcement took from the home that were turned over to the Canton Police Department in their investigation.
Yes, sir.
Okay. When you turned those over to Canton, you didn't have any say-so with Canton Police as far as the nature of what they did with them. Is that right?
Correct.
Do you know who the lead detective was in this case?
I believe it was Detective Cruz.
Do you recall how many conversations that you had with her about this case? Or did you have any?
I did not have any, no, sir.
Okay. So you didn't have any instructions or directions to her about any of the items of evidence that you seized from the home?
Correct.
Okay. You took photographs of a couple of handprints on the sheet in the room, is that right?
Yes.
And you found those handprints to be important from a documenting perspective because it showed some signs to you that there was movement in the room,
Yes.
right? That was your testimony.
Yes, sir.
Do you know how many people were in the room before law enforcement arrived?
I do not.
You were not aware of that when you were documenting the scene at all?
Correct.
Okay. Were you aware where, for example, Hannah, the child, was in the room and where Chloe was in the room when law enforcement arrived?
No, sir.
Okay. So you weren't aware who, if any, one was on the floor or who was on the mattress specifically?
Correct.
So you're not clear when you're documenting that scene whose blood that is that you're photographing, right?
Correct.
It could have been Hannah's, it could have been Chloe's, it could have been a combination of both of them. Is that right?
That's a fair statement. Yes, sir.
And I presume that you never conducted any interviews of any of the people that were in the room, Mr. Spillers or Mr. Benyamin?
No, sir.
Okay. You testified that your job was to, I think I had these right. You said your job was to get a full documentation or a thorough documentation of the child's injuries when you were at the hospital. Is that right?
With respect to the child going to the crime lab, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And when you got to the hospital, who made you aware of the nature of Hannah's injuries?
The deputy coroner.
And that was Coroner Sims?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And she had already evaluated the baby at the hospital by that time that you got there, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. She is the one that informed you that the injuries that she observed to Hannah were the photographs of her neck that you took photographs of, right?
Correct.
The injuries in her neck that you took photographs of, I should say that right. 2 puncture wounds on the top part of her neck and another laceration below those. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Those were the injuries that she described to you, and that's why you took photographs of them.
I would have taken the photographs regardless that she described them, they were there, but yes.
Okay. You didn't take any independent evaluation of the child's body yourself.
What do you mean by independent evaluation?
You didn't look at any other parts of her body to determine any other injuries to photograph. That's what I'm asking you.
Yes.
You
I
did?
Mhm.
Okay. Did you take photographs of her front as she was laying on the bed, and also of her backside of her body?
I'd have to look back through all my pictures, but that's what we do when we document a decedent in the hospital, or anywhere for that matter. So we take pictures of all.
Okay. You recall writing a police report in this case too, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And have you reviewed that police report before you testified today?
Yes, sir.
And you noted in that report the 3 puncture wounds on the neck. Is that fair?
That's fair.
You recall saying in that report that these were the only visible injuries on the victim that you observed?
That I observed, yes.
Okay. And no one else at the hospital, ER staff, coroner Sims ever described or identified to you any other injuries that you would have taken pictures of? Is that fair?
Yes.
And if there had been other injuries that somebody would have indicated to you, you absolutely would have documented them in your investigation of this case. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. One second, Judge. I think that may be all my questions. That's all I have, just thank you.
Just my follow-up.
Yes.
Counselor asked you about other injuries and things like that, but to clarify, the state that Hannah was in when you observed her, that was the state that you found her in the emergency room in that area, is that right?
That was the state in which she presented in the emergency department.
And then the next step would be that Hannah would go, her body, there would be an autopsy done by the GBI, is that correct?
That is correct.
And so whatever, and they do a little bit more thorough examination of the body and things like that.
Yes.
And they would take their own photographs and document that. A medical doctor would document all the injuries that she had on her body. Is that right?
Yes.
Nothing further.
Any further cross-examination? Any reason to keep the witness? Thank you, sir. You're free to go. Call your next witness, please.
Lindsay Harris.